We have just crossed the halfway stage of the tournament. 14 games down and 11 to go in the 2007 Gold Cup. Tonight we take a look at the final round-robin matches from Group A. Welcome along to Inside the Gold Cup. My name is Dennis Katsanos. With me, my two experts, two former internationals, Shep Messing and John Hugs. And gentlemen, as we saw...
Good to see you again, son.
Oh, I love working with you guys.
Nice jacket.
Great.
I'll tell you what, though, I'm a bit sore from that game at Twister, but let's get on with the show.
All right, well, yesterday we saw Jack Warner mention how the level of the tournament from when it started in 1991 up to 2007, the level of competition has just improved dramatically. And is it something that you guys would agree with?
I definitely would agree with that statement. I think especially when you look at the difference between teams at the top, traditional teams at the top, like Mexico, like the United States, there's less of a disparity. You take a Guadeloupe, you take Panama, you take Cuba. I'm sure it's reflected in the goal differential. There are no more blowouts. Everybody can play with everybody.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that, you know, in terms of just the actual gap that used to be there, Shep, you know, in terms of the, if you look back in the 93 or you look at the 98, there's goals being scored like 9-0 and 7-2 and 7-3, whatever it may be. But, you know, nowadays it's a lot more competitive and teams are a little bit more organized. And I think that has to do with the whole globalization, not just increasing the opportunities of the players, but the coaching staff as well.
I'm so glad you guys said that because the numbers don't lie, and as you can see at the bottom of your screen, in 1993, 2.3 goals per game in 12 matches, 2005, almost halved to 1.2, and so far out of 14 games, it's at 0.9. So as something that we've talked about through this, and John, you mentioned that yesterday, and Shep yourself, the level of competition has gotten closer and closer.
Yeah, I mean, I think that too, there's always two sides of the story, and you can always look at it from a negative point of view and say that, oh, the top teams are crap and they're not playing very well and things like that. And seriously, or you can say that the other teams are getting a little bit better and they're closing the gap. And I think we saw that on the world stage at the World Cup. You're starting to see teams like that, some surprising first round games, and now you're seeing it in our own region, you know, in the CONCACAF Gold Cup. Because of its exposure and the opportunities it presents, you're starting to see better teams play in this group, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, John makes a good point, and I think it's really a microcosm of what's going on in the world of soccer. In 2002, Senegal.
That's a great word of the day. Microcosm.
What don't you understand about it?
That was just a new one. Did the look give it away? It's like, go shit.
CONCACAF is now really experiencing something we see around the world in soccer. Senegal beating France. We saw upsets in Germany in the World Cup. CONCACAF as a whole, the quality of play has improved. And even for us, we're all in it. I'm shocked when I see Cuba play. I think Cuba's a good team.
Is it fair to say that there's only so far you can go in football? There's only so far that the Mexicos and the USAs and the you know, the top echelon of football can go. So it's very easy for teams that aren't quite as good in terms of world rankings to sort of leapfrog up. But when you're sort of up the top there anyway, you only make small incremental steps.
It's quite possible. I think, yeah, you make a good point. There's sometimes like, how do you improve, you know, from one year to the next in terms of the talent? But normally it's because of your federation, your youth development system, you know, in terms of bringing new players through and you know, and how you present those situations for those players, whether you pluck them at 17, 18, are they ready to play with the first team at, well, when I mean that, I mean the national team, the senior team, or do you still, like, you know, leave them down below and you trust in those 32 or 33-year-old players that are veteran players? Now, having said that, international soccer has changed. It's gotten a lot quicker. And, you know, the pace of the game goes by as you get older. And unfortunately, you know, when we were playing, I mean, we were a lot more talented than today's team. I mean, I got to tell you that seriously.
Totally.
A lot more creative vision and everything else. But the age now becomes an important issue.
Well, listen, if you're good enough, you're old enough. But it does start with all the things John's talking about. The pool of players available. Right. How many inhabitants? I mean, Guadeloupe is Guadeloupe. Angloma is 41 years old. He's a star. But Guadeloupe, El Salvador, they're small nations relatively compared to the United States in terms of population. Then you get into the technical, tactical ability of the players. Then, John, the coaching from a federation level. But all in all, CONCACAF, listen, New Zealand will never be any place. But, CONCACAF,
wow.
getting better.
The daggers are out tonight.
What was it? Microcosm.
Microcosm.
I'm going to have to look that up after. No, but
you're going to have to watch your back, man.
In saying that, though, what some of these countries like Guadeloupe or what Trinidad and Tobago achieved in the 2006 World Cup, when you've got a population of 1.1 million people or 400,000 people, is quite extraordinary, isn't it?
I think so.
I think so.
Okay. All right. Okay. No, you don't want to add anything else to that?
Yeah, it is. Look, soccer is a sport, and it is a game that we love, but it's one where if you get the right pool of 18 players, miracles can happen. We've seen upsets all over the place, and it's one of the reasons this Gold Cup tournament is exciting. Everybody can come in and say, yeah, Mexico is great, U.S. is great. Well, guess what? Maybe Mexico is not great.
And going back to Jack Warner, you know, in his interview, I thought he's a great guy, by the way. You know, seriously, and I thought you handled it well. I mean, you did a good interview with Jack. And I think one of the key things, though, and Dennis, you were talking about it earlier to Shep and I as well, was that he was saying that when it started, you know, that they didn't have the money. They had 40 grand, I believe, and eight chairs and 40 grand. So, you know, I think that's changed as well. I mean, you're talking about, you know, more investors in the game, you know, more sponsorship, you know, more exposure and television contract and things like that, which enable individual small island teams like Haiti or Guadeloupe, whoever it may be, to actually become a better nation as well. I mean, those things help, those resources in the federation. So that's all coming together, and it makes it all very competitive.
Well, next up on Inside the Gold Cup, we have a look at Costa Rica and Guadeloupe. But here's a little bit for your information.
Gatorade Sports Science Institute. We test athletes in the lab. Because we know they'll be tested on the field. Gatorade, the most tested sports drink on the planet.
The screenings that happen here might be fun or dramatic, but it's not real life. There's another screening that is real life, and it could save your life. It's a screening test for colorectal cancer, the second leading cancer killer of men and women. Screening finds precancerous polyps so they can be removed before they turn into cancer. I got screened. Now it's your turn, so you can stick around and enjoy the show.
If you're 50 or older, get screened for colorectal cancer.
Work like a pro. Play like a pro. Tackle tough jobs. Dominate the game. Destroy the competition. Go professional. Choose Makita.
Welcome back to Inside the Gold Cup, where the final round robin matches for Group A were contested yesterday. Costa Rica up against Guadeloupe in the first game. And Shep, for Costa Rica, it was all about pressure. It was a do-or-die game for them.
Yeah, there's no question. I think this is a critical time for them because as a team, they've really underperformed. I like the Ticos. They've always been good, organized on the defensive side of the ball. In this tournament, John, they've had trouble scoring goals.
They've had trouble scoring goals, Shep. Good point. And I think we've said in the past they've been very solid in terms of defending, and I think they've been hard defenders. You know, they get to every ball, they challenge things in the air. In this tournament, I think in the first two games, we saw them kind of a little bit too loose and fragmented in the back, and really communication is broken down. So for me, they need to pick up their game all around. Never mind just defending or attacking, but the key point, though, like you said, is they got to score goals, and they're not doing that.
Well, let's have a look at the 11 men with all the pressure on their shoulders to perform for Costa Rica and take them through to the next round of the competition.
Yeah, they play three in the back. I like Porras in goal. I like Cordero in the central part of the defense. Really, it's up to the midfield, John, to try and find some creativity.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at a player like Centeno, who's not only just putting the ball in the back of the net for them, but he's very creative, great vision on the ball, and he's really the go-to guy. He's a creator.
Well, for Guadeloupe, these are the 11 men that were looking to create history for the Guadeloupe side, and fantastic. Not only is it their first tournament, they picked up their first win. Could they get through to the next round? Well, these are the 11 men that will be taking the park for the Guadeloupe team.
Well, we have to see if the miracle can continue. I like Grandel in goal. In the back, John, you know the central defender.
Yeah, David Somal, I mean, he actually had a stint with Sheffield United, and I believe he's with Man City now, Shep. You know, good player, solid player, hard, dirty player, really. That's what you need as a center back. Florival, also a good player. You like him in the midfield, attacking-wise, creating going forward.
Yeah, Angloma not in the lineup, 41 years old. Tough for him to get back in the lineup with 2 days in between games.
Absolutely.
Well, for Costa Rica, you mentioned that it wasn't the best performance in their first 2 games, anything but. They couldn't score goals. What do you think they might have changed going into this one for Guadeloupe?
Hopefully, Dennis, they've changed, you know, not just in terms of ability-wise, like certain individuals and tactics, but I think they need to change their mindset and their approach to the game. It seems as if they're waiting for things to happen, and instead of reacting on the pitch, they need to actually act and make things happen. They can't sit back and wait for that second ball to fall to somebody else. Need to be a little bit more disciplined and organized as they move the ball forward. And really take a little bit more chances, more risks up front.
Would you guys say, just watching them, they look tense on the park, Shep?
Well, I think John made a great point, because for Costa Rica, if you have the mindset that this is a winnable game, you have to be proactive. You have to attack the game. You have to hunt down the ball. You can't sit and react. And they've been very tentative the first couple of games.
Well, would the fairy tale continue for Guadeloupe against Costa Rica?
This is a better start to the game for Costa Rica. Got the ball out wide. Saborio can't latch onto it. Couldn't run onto that good ball, but now Centeno on the free kick rips it in. That's a great strike, but the wall covered the other side of the goal. Grandel should have had that.
Yeah, absolutely, Grandel. It goes back to the whole trust factor, Shep. You got the wall there, trust the wall. Stay on the goalkeeper's side.
This may be the best chance of the game for Guadeloupe. Porras bobbles it. Eventually, it gets cleared out. Second half, Costa Rica is trying to find a way to get a second goal. Is it a PK? Saborio in the box. I think my buddy Hawk says no. I think it should have been a PK. Now Guadeloupe just desperate to get back in the game, and this game got physical. The referee didn't see this, John. There were tough tackles all over the field.
Yeah, it was a sloppy kind of, you know, choppy game, Shep, and unfortunately, you know, the referee had his hands full. I mean, yellow cards, and there you see Medford, the technical director for the nation of Costa Rica, and he seems to be a little bit happier. I'm not sure about his dress sense, though. You can take some tips from our host here, Dennis.
Well, looking at the stats, the one that counts is, of course, the goals. Costa Rica winning 1-0 over Guadeloupe and 32 fouls in total. Something you touched on, gentlemen. It's probably the most physical game I've seen in this tournament, John.
Well, I think it goes back to a point that Shep was saying earlier on, is that they've got to come out, and in terms of just being organized in the defense, they've got to be harder. And I was saying beforehand that there's certain players on that team that were just sitting back and reacting to things, and they really weren't getting stuck into the tackle. They weren't anticipating things. In this particular game, I think Hernan Medford really had a chat with them and said, you've got to go after it. I want to see the 50-50 balls made, you know, on the pitch. You got to win those challenges, and I think in the air as well. So whether they, you know, kick people and make the ball, you know, move for them and let them chase it, you know, and they just went after it today. They really, it was a gritty performance. Not a fantastic performance, but a gritty performance that got them the result.
Well, listen, John, nobody knows better than John Hawks, and I say this in the best sense, that if it was moving, he would kick it. So look, the Ticos did what they had to do to get through. They got the goal. I think an issue for them, John, is they still only have one player that has scored a goal for them. So tell me, correct me if I'm wrong, they achieved the first objective. Get out of the first round of group play. Now try and build on it. They're going to need more creativity. They're going to need more guys really helping out Centeno if they're going to go any further.
Absolutely, and Shep, it's a great point, because now other teams are going to focus on Centeno even more. You're going to see teams doubling up on him, getting stuck in, you know, knocking him off his game, getting inside and playing the mental side of it, too, not just the physical. So he's going to have a hard time, and this is a quality player, 32 years old. He's played in World Cups. I mean, he's scored loads of goals. I mean, at his old club, AAK Athens, you know, he scored 14 goals in one season. This is a guy who has experience as well. He scored against Real Madrid in the UEFA Cup Championship. He's to a 2-2 draw. He's also scored against Roma. So he knows the big occasion. He shows up on the doorstep. But now, like Chip said, he's the only guy who's doing it. If he's the only guy who's doing it, that could be a sign for another nation, another team, a tactical situation. Shut him down. 1v1 marking, As he comes across 35 yards out from goal, now we double team him.
Yeah, if he goes to take a water break, if he goes to the bathroom, you know,
Get in his
stay
back
with it.
pocket.
Get stuck in.
Well, we touched on the Costa Rican defence, and one thing that was outstanding that they managed to achieve that they didn't do in the first two games, they managed to stop goals this time. The other two games that they played in, every team's come back, and they lost, of course, to Canada, but very well organised in the back.
Yeah, I think they did a great job tracking back, covering for each other. Look, defending's hard work and it's organization. You've got to get jerseys behind the ball. Look at this. John, that's perfection. Diagonal, four guys behind the ball.
No, that's the cover and balance, and that's what you want. You want these guys making sure that they're compact and they're organized, and they're, you know, one guy makes the step to the ball. Maybe he gets beat, but at least there's somebody there to cover up behind him, and that's what they did. Here's the pressure right here, Shep.
Yeah, it's really knowing where your teammates are, staying on goal side of the ball, getting back. Look, defense is hard work and organization. They did a great job.
In general, in the tournament, have you noticed, this is just my observation, that quite often a lot of players have got a lot of time, particularly in that final third, to shoot?
Yeah, no, I have noticed that, and I don't know if it's just a lackadaisical situation, if these players, maybe they're fatigued. You know, you talk about a tournament format, and then you have to recover 2 days later and compete again, and some of these nations don't have the depth that others do. So you can't just go in and switch half the team out and then play that way and try to get a result. They've got to go with maybe their core players have that starting 11, and maybe filter in one or two players. So it could be a fatigue issue as well.
For Guadeloupe, having a look at Guadeloupe, that win against Canada, was it a fluke?
I don't think it was a fluke. I think it was John talked about it earlier, where they played with passion, where they played with a nothing to lose attitude. They also had a poor decision by Canada. Sutton made a mistake early in the game, and Gloma chipped them, so they're up 1-0. That really gave them, I think, the impetus to have a tremendous performance.
Absolutely, that lifts you, and sometimes it's individual tackles that lifts a player or lifts a team. Sometimes it's just a player taking a foul and getting a yellow card, saying, "Come on, let's dig in here. Let's make something out of this game." And I think, you know, whether you use the word fluke or a little bit of luck or whatever it may be, you make your own luck, and they go after it, and they competed, and they created their chances. So, hey, when they put the ball in the back of the net, that's the game of soccer.
And a perfect word, John. Speaking of creation, it's something that eluded Guadeloupe in this game. They kept trying to do lots and lots of things, but no answers for them.
No, I mean, they certainly, Dennis, try to find ways through the stingy defense of Costa Rica in the back. But as you say before, and Shep really, you know, pointed it out with our brilliant graphics guy as well, that cover and balance, really compact in the back, numbers behind the ball. Even they're starting to get more of the attacking players coming back and tracking from behind as well. So everybody worked hard in this game to get a result.
Yeah, and what happened is Guadeloupe got a little bit frustrated. They couldn't find the seams. They couldn't get several players engaged. They couldn't get triangles going. They resorted to shooting from long distance. You know, in the end, they just went down.
And the other thing too, Dennis, I mean, think about it. From a goalkeeping point of view, Porras is coming up big at certain times. I mean, sometimes he's a little bit out of position, like we saw, you know, on certain games. But he's a guy as well that, you know, when you need a goalkeeper to make a big save, he seems to be doing that in particular games for them. And in this one, he did. He came up big. You know, that one chance in the box area, he's bobbling it a little bit, but he's there. I mean, that's a keeper. You expect him to make those saves.
Yeah, the other side of the ball, you know, a man that's been really tremendous for Guadeloupe, Grandal, you know, in the end, just didn't work out.
No, it didn't work out at all. And, you know, you could say that about a lot of countries right now competing in the Gold Cup, whether they switch goalkeepers in between. Canada comes to mind because we love Pat Onstad, but hey, nothing against Greg Sutton as well. But let's stick to this game first and talk about it.
Well, I was reading on the goldcup.org website that Roger Selnot said after the game that his team were absolutely exhausted just playing so many games in a short space of time. Was that evident to you guys watching that game?
Yeah, and that's the point that I was trying to make. And when you have a short period of time, especially like a nation like Guadeloupe who, you know, hasn't been in this format before, this is a great, you know, this is really a great story when you think about it. They come out, they compete, they surprise a few teams, but at the end of the day, when Roger Selnot's turning and looking at his bench and he's thinking, woof, guys are injured, guys are exhausted, they haven't recovered, they're not used to the situation, no experience, so who do I pull from? You know, who am I going to send on here to make a difference in this particular game? And you become limited, so, you know, that hurts you.
And Dennis, the other factor, and it touches John's point, depth of the roster and games, you know, not much rest. John knows because he worked hard. You know, it's hard to defend. It's hard work. to save your energy, possess the ball, knock it around, possess the ball, make the other team chase you. When you're doing the chasing, much more tiring for the player.
The other thing in that same story is Walter Centeno came out and they asked him, about his individual brilliance. You're amazing, you scored all these goals, and he quite openly came out and said, look, it was a team effort, we collectively worked hard, etc. What does it say to you about a person when he could take all the raps and the accolades when he comes out and says, no, it wasn't just me, it was me and the 10 guys on the park?
Either a sign of intelligence or he's a great politician.
So you think maybe on the inside he's going, yeah, I'm the man?
No, I think, I'm being serious, all kidding aside, I think he's a very mature professional player, and he's been through it beforehand, and as I stated before, he's scored goals, he's in big games, and he's been there and done it. So in this situation, he has a sense of pride. He puts the jersey on, and he's going to help the boys as much as possible. So when he puts the ball in the back of the net, sure, is he being a leader? That's great, but he's doing it, and he's got a lot of help around him as well. The guys dug in. Shep made a good point about, hey, they defended all over the pitch as well, and we talked about that. So yeah, he's going to be, he seems like a humble guy, so why not? He's just going to say, look, I'm doing it for my country, and let's see what happens in the next match.
Yeah, listen.
You never know.
And John knows that when you're playing at this level for your country in the Gold Cup, it's really about, soccer's the ultimate team game. I mean, it's defined by individual moments of brilliance, but Centeno knows better than anybody else that he needs the 10 guys with him to get a result.
Absolutely.
Is the pressure off Hernan Medford, or is he still under quite a lot of pressure back home to achieve even more in this tournament?
I think for now, there's a short little time of pressure taking off. He got a result, and he's getting out of the group play. So yeah, I think there's a little bit of pressure off him. Having said that, going back to a point that Shep talked about, is goal scoring. Where's it going to come from next? And as a coach, he's sitting there looking at his team sheet thinking, how am I going to get other players involved in this game? And Centeno's carrying the load here. He's going to start arching his back a little bit after carrying a piano for a long period of time. So who else is going to step up and play? So the pressure, I think it's still on him. For a short period of time, but it's still on him.
All right, well, thank you very much, gentlemen. I like the piano call, by the way, John. Very, very nice. When we come back, it's more from the Gold Cup 2007.
Work like a pro. Play like a pro. Tackle tough jobs. Dominate the game. Destroy the competition. Go professional. Choose Makita.
Through the Football for Hope movement, FIFA is committed to protecting children and their rights, furthering social integration, and peace and reconciliation. Football for Hope champions health promotion and anti-discrimination. FIFA is firmly committed to using football to resolve some of the most pressing social challenges of our time. Football can change the world.
At the Gatorade Sports Science Institute, we test athletes in the lab. Because we know they'll be tested on the field. Gatorade, the most tested sports drink on the planet.
This is Inside the Gold Cup, the technical analysis show for the period of the tournament. My name is Dennis Katsanos, with me Shep Messing and John Harks. And our second game from Group A, the final round-robin match, was between Haiti and Canada. And John, it would be fair to say that Haiti have been a little bit disappointing so far this tournament.
Yeah, I think they've been a bit disappointing, Dennis, but having said that, they're in a tough group as well. There have been times throughout certain individual games where they've kept good possession of the ball and that, but the individuals, they don't have as many as some of maybe Canada does. And then having said that, maybe the depth coming off the bench, I think hurts them as well. So I don't expect that much from Haiti. So, I think fair dues to them. They've competed, but they, I don't expect them to be world beaters.
Well, one individual that has stood out for the Haiti team when we look at their team list is their goalkeeper, Fenelon, Shep.
Yeah, Fenelon had a great game against Costa Rica. He's going to have to try and do it again because I agree with John. I mean, some individual talent, decent back four, but I don't see a lot of quality in the midfield. Physicality has been good. John, what do they do to score goals?
Well, I mean, if they can get the ball to Physicality and maybe he plays off of Cherry a little bit there. In Brunet, I mean, if he can overlap a little bit, get forward. But Pierre-Louis has had a little bit of a struggle, I think, getting around the box. Even though at times they have kept possession around the 18 of the other side, it's just that final ball, Shep, that final delivery, that little bit of conviction. And to score goals, you need to have courage and be a Braveheart. So I don't see that in these guys.
Yeah,
Well,
we
John,
talked about it before. I mean, there's one other factor, John and Dennis. You know, they're playing in the Orange Bowl. You know, such a passionate crowd behind them, and I do think very disappointing.
Yeah, I agree with you. They have the support, and it's almost like a home crowd, you know. So in that aspect of things, yeah, I think it probably is a bit disappointing. But, you know, you move on, and there's other things to think about.
Well, having a look at the Canadian lineup, these were the men that were taking the puck, and surprise, surprise, there's been a change in keeper.
Well, get Pat Onstad back in goal. I love Stalteri. Talk through the rest of the team, John.
Well, you know, I agree with you. Pat Onstad, fantastic. Hutchinson up top, you know, workhorse. Di Rosario, what else can I say about this boy? Very creative. De Guzman, those two in the combination play have done well throughout this tournament so far. And then Robbie Friend up top. So, you know, hey, let's give Pozniak a little shout as well. Good on the ball. Good on the ball. Good touches on the ball. Good first touch.
Now, gentlemen, against Guadeloupe, you know, a massive shock for Canada. They went out probably expecting to win that game and win quite comfortably. They ended up losing. What sort of mindset would they have gone into this game against Haiti with?
Well, I think I've always believed in this Canadian team, and they're schizophrenic. I mean, that's a nightmare. I mean, that's schizophrenic up and down. Nightmare against Guadeloupe. I think they put it past them. They're big boys. They've got stars on the team. De Guzman, De Rosario, Onsted's been around, Stalteri. So, you know, that game's already forgotten.
Right. I mean, they've got the experience to rebound from such a thing. And then, you know, if anything, it's a wake-up call, you know? And maybe you can afford to do that at times in group play before you get out of group play. But, you know, really when it comes down to it, you want more consistency with your team over the 90 minutes. And, of course, as Stephen Hart, the manager right now, who's interim coach, who's in place, is really looking for who my core players are going to be reliable and accountable every single match. And maybe he had to make a little bit of changes. And, of course, we see the main change, which is really, really important. And I think some people overlook as having Pat Onstad back in goal. That gives him a little bit of, you know, a solid foundation starting from the back. And I think, you know, as Shep, as a goalkeeper, if I'm playing in front of a goalkeeper as a back four or whatever, I feel a little bit better and more relaxed with a certain goalkeeper giving me this, you know, giving me some information. I think Pat does that very well.
All right, well, Canada needed the win to top the group. Haiti needed the win to stay alive and get through to the next round. Who would gain the ascendancy?
Now, Canada comes out on a front foot. They get it wide right. Stalteri, he's going to hit that with a left peg, far post. Watch De Rosario. Crack! Left foot, near post goal. What is Fenelon thinking? He's cheating, going the wrong way. Canada continued to attack. Nakajima firing, taken down in the box. John, penalty kick. Who's going to take it?
Well, of course, I mean, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking Di Rosario's going to step up. And there he is. And a great finish as well. Just gets it on the, hey, keeper goes the right side, right?
Yeah, I think he got a hand on it, but too much velocity on it. And now, great opportunity. We talked about Onstad, stands, kick save with the right foot.
You know, and that was the end of the first half there, and I think Guadeloupe kind of came back at it, but look at this play. Talk about being brave and being a Braveheart. Look at Onstad getting his head rattled against the pitch, man. He's doing the test right now. Stick your tongue out, say, and look at me.
Yeah, and Onstad was brilliant. Again, another near post save, standing up, looking big. Totally great performance by him. Frustration, and look at De Guzman. I mean, they have so many good players. De Guzman again forces the save. This just wasn't anything going the right way for Haiti. Red card to Brunei. That's a nightmare game for Haiti.
Yeah, I mean, as a captain, I think he was a little bit surprised and by that call. But yeah, look, the elbow comes up. I know that FIFA is really clamping down on any particular elbows that are coming up, whether you're being challenged in the air to protect yourself. We see a lot of strikers do that.
Yeah.
But in this particular instant, he does kind of throw it a bit. It was embellished as well, so unfortunately the referee has no decision but to send him off.
For Canada, it was all about De Guzman from Deportivo La Coruña. I love him. Sorry, just do like him a lot. And De Rosario. Tell me, is there a little bit of pressure on Stephen Hart? If you mentioned about doing a one-on-one on Centeno, if you eliminated them from the game, what's left from Canada as they go ahead?
Well, I think there's a few players you still like go-to players, but these two have combined. I mean, I'd rather focus on how lethal they are as a combination dynamic duo. I mean, these two players, no, seriously, they understand each other. There they are, looking perfectly poised in the lineup. Look at that.
Sweet, sweet, sweet. You know what, John? Both of them have the ability to take on a defender, crack a shot at goal. There's the Guzman again.
Oh, great finish. I mean, this is the thing, though. Like you said, Shep, they're not afraid to take chances, take risks in the final third, and that's what you need as an attacking player. There's De Rosario from distance, finding the far post, and again, rattling the crossbar, and then here it is again. Great left-footed ball, in-swinger here, that goes to the back post for the goal, and they just have an understanding with each other, and when you click like that on the field, then you become a lethal weapon, and these two are doing it.
Yeah, they're not shy. They complement each other, and they're really a handful to try and mark out of a game.
Yeah.
Some of the stories that I've read have criticised Stephen Hart for putting De Rosario out on the left. They think he possibly should be playing more of a midfield role or more in the centre. Would you agree or disagree?
Well, as much as you look at formations and what I think people overvalue, or they get a little bit too hung up on the whole formation thing.
Yeah.
Everybody's supposed to stay in it. Look, De Rosario is going to go find the game where he wants to. It just so happens that he did drift to the left side there for his goal. And I think, if I'm not wrong, he did strike it lefty.
He did,
so,
actually, him and De Guzman.
Said that, yeah, but having said that, he is very dangerous as an attacking midfield role, playing behind, a front two, or playing as a lazy striker, just sitting there and finding the game.
It's not unusual, though, at the national team level where a coach will put a player in a position that he's not used to. Bob Bradley's doing it with Landon Donovan with the U.S. team. Landon would prefer to play centrally. He's putting him out wide right. So, John knows once the whistle blows, De Rosario, he's going to go where he wants to go.
And Shep, having said that, there's still a situation now getting out of group play like Canada has done for the next match to maybe see De Rosario in a different role again. Maybe they want to kind of combat the tactical formation of defenses, that are going to go up against him and say, hey, let's get him in behind the front runner now and see how he clicks there. So they can move him about the pitch.
Well, Haiti, of course, won the Caribbean Cup. Were you expecting a little bit more from them? They've pretty much been eliminated from the tournament and they're heading home, Shep.
Well, I'm disappointed. I mean, I really am. I think I agree with John's comments that what do we expect? I mean, they have some individual skill on the ball, but as a unit, I expected a better performance in this Gold Cup. I thought coming off winning the Caribbean Cup in January in Trinidad, they have been a hot team. I didn't think they were going to win the Gold Cup, but I'm very disappointed in how they played.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Shep, it goes down to the old don't believe the hype, I mean, seriously, I mean, you're coming into this tournament where if you really looked at all the media and the written up columns and what people were saying is that, similar to what Dennis just touched upon, is that, okay, this is a federation who at the U17 level, were successful and champions. And now you got, Haiti as well, winning the Caribbean. Yeah, and the under-20s and they had the momentum, and unfortunately, you put them in this situation, they're up against really tough teams. And CONCACAF, we said it before, is becoming a more competitive tournament, and it's only because of these individual countries are now playing at a higher level. And the individuals on those teams are getting more international experience over in foreign countries. So it's all becoming a little bit harder. So Haiti, yeah, disappointed. Did I expect a lot from them? No, but they should have been a hot team coming in.
I just got to start calling you Flavor Flav from now on. Don't believe the hype. All you need is a big clock around you.
Don't believe the hype. Great tune, great tune.
Are you going to sing as well? No, it's just me.
No, just you.
Okay.
I don't want to turn away too many people, really.
Keeping on with the football in the Gold Cup, one player in particular that's had a bit of a frustrating time for the Canadians is Rob Friend, working incredibly hard, but nothing seems to be going right for him, John.
Yeah, I think he's a player that, okay, he's not going to stand out like a De Guzman. He's not going to stand out like a De Rosario. But he's a hard-working player. I mean, here he seems a little bit slow. He should be really, he's not anticipating correctly. Is it fatigue as well? Maybe he's hasn't got his feet set. Here you think a goalkeeper's out and the striker's going to slot that in from an angle. And yeah, he's in between two minds though. So he knows himself as well. He's having a tough time.
Yeah, he's struggling. I'm going to give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt that he does some other good things for his team. It's not just about scoring goals. He could come back. He's a big, strong fella, holds the ball, acts as a target guy, lays it off, tries to look for De Rosario.
Different role, Shep, absolutely. Should he have made more of his chances, you know, in that particular game? I think so. But, you know, look, he's in a different role. And I think he's not a bad player. That doesn't mean he's a bad player, but he's got some other responsibilities. And maybe he's just not shining in the final 18.
He can do better.
John, have you ever been in a tournament where something like that might have happened to yourself, where you've had a frustrating time, or just things just don't seem to be going right for you?
That never happened to John Ark.
Never happened. I don't think so. No, not that I can recall, Dennis. No. It's like my friend John Sheridan, Republic of Ireland International. We would be having little chats here and there, and someone would say, like, it's difficult coming off the bench, and you go, well, I don't know what that's like. So, you know, just having a little laugh, you know, but. Look, there's times where you're not on your game, and I always try to tell players, and even as a coach now, as an assistant coach with the Red Bulls, you try to tell players, look, if you're having a frustrated time and your touch isn't on and you don't feel like really comfortable with the ball, you still got to graft. You got to work hard. You got to, for me, my dad always used to tell us when we were younger, you got to earn the right to play. That means you've got to dig in and chase and shut down opponents until you get good possession of the ball, and then maybe your touch comes back to you. Then maybe those instincts come back to you. But when the game is rough for you and you're not finding the game, you got to battle through it.
Got to work harder.
And it's happened. It happens to every player.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. All right. When we come back, more from the Gold Cup in 2007, of course, with Centeno's third goal. He's joined Costa at the top of the goal scorers. Let's have a look at those standings.
Gatorade Sports Science Institute. We test athletes in the lab. Because we know they'll be tested on the field. Gatorade, the most tested sports drink on the planet.
The screenings that happen here might be fun or dramatic, but it's not real life. There's another screening that is real life, and it could save your life. It's a screening test for colorectal cancer, the second leading cancer killer of men and women. Screening finds precancerous polyps so they can be removed before they turn into cancer. I got screened. Now it's your turn, so you can stick around and enjoy the show.
If you're 50 or older, get screened for colorectal cancer.
Work like a pro. Play like a pro. Tackle tough jobs. Dominate the game. Destroy the competition. Go professional. Choose Makita.
Welcome back to Inside the Gold Cup, where we take a look at the standings in Group A. Yes, this is the way Group A finished up, with Canada up top, Costa Rica fighting their way into second, Guadeloupe in third with 4 points, and Haiti finished bottom of Group A with just a couple of points. While Canada and Costa Rica have made their way through, gentlemen, do you think 4 points is enough for Guadeloupe, Shep?
Well, I mean, Guadeloupe hopes so. How in the world would I know? I do think Guadeloupe will get through.
Let me look into my crystal ball.
Guadeloupe, I do believe, will get through.
All right. Would you agree, John?
Yeah, I mean, they've got a great opportunity. We're not throwing ourselves on the train tracks here. I mean, they've got 4 points, right? So, I mean, they've got a great chance. I mean, I think looking at some of the other groups, Dennis, I mean, we've got to hope that, Trinidad and Tobago have got to get a result, I believe, against Guatemala. I mean, there's a lot of things that got to fall into place, but they've got a great chance. Yeah.
Okay. In terms of possibilities, I've done all the permutations and stuff, and you guys are going to go, stats, Dennis, what are you doing to us? But Canada could face either Guatemala, Trinidad and Tobago, or El Salvador, depending on tomorrow's results. And having a look at those three teams, which one, if you were Canada, would you rather face, Shep?
Well, I don't think they're going to face Trinidad and Tobago because I don't see them being there. I think they don't want to face Guatemala.
Yeah, I agree.
think they'd,
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I think they'd prefer to face El Salvador. I think Guatemala's a dangerous squad. That's not the team they want to play.
No, I think Guatemala. I think they're a little bit more compact. I think they're a little bit more organized. They've got some composure on the ball as well. They're a hard grafting team. They work for each other.
Yep.
So yeah, I agree with Shep. I think that it would be a tougher game for Canada against Guatemala in the next round.
Okay, having a look at Costa Rica, it's anyone in Group C, basically, because Group C is wide open, so that could be Honduras, Panama, Mexico, or Cuba. And who would you pick for them out of those, John?
I go play Mexico because I think they're horrible.
Gee, whoa.
That's for all my Mexican fans out there.
Yeah.
Woo, get in there! How's it feel, eh? Sorry, just kidding. No.
John.
Sorry.
Okay.
Too many cups of tea, Debbie. Slow it down, hen.
I think they really don't know. I mean, again, teams at this stage of the tournament, guys, they're just happy they're at a group play, right? So they're not thinking about I'd rather play A, B, C. They're trying to recuperate. They're trying to rest. They're trying to be hydrated. They're trying to be physically fit. Be ready to play, and then they'll worry tactically. 24 hours before the game, they'll break down whoever they get matched up with.
Right, that's true. I mean, you got to be prepared. I mean, you do. You got to. But I think the first thing is, and we talked about this, beforehand, is that the recovery situation is very important. I mean, these guys, especially some of them with core players, maybe getting injuries, yellow card situations, whatever it may be. They've got to be well rested and prepared for the next round of games. So yeah, they've got to make sure that they focus on themselves first before they start worrying about who they might play.
When you watch the World Cup, or particularly in the World Cup, the final round of matches are all played consecutively. How much of an advantage is it for the teams that are playing second to know what the result is from the first game?
Big advantage.
I think it's fantastic. I think you can go in there. You've got to win by 4 goals. You got to.
Well, of course. I mean, we're playing state the obvious here, but and ding ding ding, you win, Johnny. But the thing is like when you know what's going on, at least tactically you can set things up. You can put matchups as well. You can do set plays, making sure that you're picking up players and that your players feel comfortable with that. And you put it in their minds as well. You want to send a message out to a team. You always want to be well prepared. So, yeah, of course. I mean, if you know who you're playing against, that's certainly going to help you.
Chip, would you agree?
Yeah, it was such a silly question. Neither one of us
I thought it was great.
Neither one of us, jumped in to answer it. But obviously you got to know who you're playing, get prepared. It's mostly the coach's job. Players don't worry about that.
Okay, now, the reason why I asked it, and let's look at it from another perspective, is as we remember, there was fantastic scandals with the World Cup with alleged games results being thrown one particular way to face a particular opponent. So that's more the proponent from where the question came from, as opposed to knowing who you're facing. It might lead a team to try and gear towards a certain result.
I agree with that. I think there's times where sometimes it's very dangerous. It's a very fine line to walk upon, my friend, because Johnny Cash, I walk the line.
Trying to tread that carefully.
The thing is, and that's one of his favorite songs. But the thing is as well, I know what you're talking about, because like when you're playing in a tournament situation, you're thinking, all right, we get a result here. We can get a result against this team, but do we really want one? Just say perhaps, like in the past, the Gold Cups, well, we might face Brazil. If we win this match.
Right.
If we get a draw, we might face Panama. Whatever it may be. So that does cross your line, but you can't think like that in football. No. There's no way. You've just got to go out and play and get the result and move on to the next match and prepare. Because if you start thinking like that, then things are going to turn against you.
Yeah, the guys, and by the way, it's not the players who think that way. It's everybody else who looks and says, well, you know what? There's a mutually beneficial score here someplace that can benefit all parties. But those aren't the players thinking. The players, when the whistle blows, they're getting stuck in. They're playing hard. They're trying to win.
And if anything, it's the goalkeepers thinking, because they're all they've been kicked in the head way too many times anyway, right, Shep? When they were younger.
It's the field it's the field players that come to the goalkeeper because we're the wise sages.
The wise owl.
Yeah, the field players will come to us and say, "What do you think we should do?" And we say,
"You're joking, right?" Players go to the keepers and they say, "Don't think, just do."
I like the way he's calling you crazy. He's doing the old, "Hey, how does it feel, matey?"
Wait, let's keep it in perspective.
Get a little goofy here.
Keep it in perspective. I mean, there's one guy who makes a mistake, goes up on the scoreboard. Other guys run around the field for 90 minutes. They do nothing. They score a goal. They're a hero. So all levels of responsibility.
Yeah.
I'm
with you, man. I'm with you. I'm going to back you up.
Oh, when we were return on the Gold Cup, inside the Gold Cup, I should say, for 2007. We have a look at some of the surprise teams of the tournament, and this is the schedule for the quarterfinals, final, and also the semis.
Work like a pro. Play like a pro. Tackle tough jobs. Dominate the game. Destroy the competition. Go professional. Choose Makita.
Through the Football for Hope movement, FIFA is committed to protecting children and their rights, furthering social integration and peace and reconciliation. Football for Hope champions health promotion and anti-discrimination. FIFA is firmly committed to using football to resolve some of the most pressing social challenges of our time. Football can change the world.
At the Gatorade Sports Science Institute, we test athletes in the lab. Because we know they'll be tested on the field. Gatorade, the most tested sports drink on the planet.
Welcome back to Inside the Gold Cup, and I just want to go on the record and say I love working with these two men. I absolutely love it. It's the most entertaining time I've had in a long time. But they're fantastic. Now,
Was that Dennis?
Yeah,
Sorry.
Thanks, boys. Now, having a look at the tournament, there's been some surprise packages. Guadeloupe, for example, Panama, Cuba, and I know for yourself, Shep, one of the earlier shows in the preview show, in fact, you were saying you weren't expecting too much from Panama, and they've come out and done fairly well.
Well, I'm glad you finally got that question out, Dennis. It took a while. But I love Panama, and I love surprises in a tournament like this. And when you look at the team from Panama, they have a striker. I think he could be the best striker in the tournament in Perez. He can run at a defender, skin him with the ball at his feet. He can shoot with the right foot, shoot with the left. He's great in the air, good agility. So when you have a player like that, good things can happen. This Panamanian team, they're doing very well.
No, I mean, you know, in one aspect, you talk about the surprises in a positive way. Surprises in a negative way would be for me, and I'm not hitting again, but...
Oh, no, you're not.
Here it comes.
Here we go.
Mexico.
Here it comes.
How does that feel?
Disappointed in Mexico. I mean, you know, a surprise. You know, you would think that, and we talked about it in the first show, Shep, when we went back and saying, you know, who really are the powerhouses, whether you believe the hype again, the media and things like that, but you build it up to saying USA, Mexico, and maybe even Costa Rica a little bit here and there, but a little bit surprises that I'm disappointed in some of the nations as well in this tournament, Dennis.
John, I got to watch the Cuba game with you, and the whole time you're sitting there going, wow, these guys are really good.
Yeah. No, I mean, fantastic team. I think the one thing about it is like, normally you are in that situation surprised by one or two players. I think for Cuba, you're actually surprised by 7, 8 players. You know, 3 players come to mind that I think I'm going to steal from Shep right now. Alcantara, that is a fantastic player. You like him. I mean, he's great energy, can finish in the box, which we've seen. He's flanked and supported by Duarte, who's a good player as well, good on the ball. And FIFA. I mean, I think FIFA, who on the wing, you know, maybe needs to get a little bit more involved. Got a good strike on goal as well. I think he hit the upper 90 at one particular stage in the second match. And, you know, so these guys, when they combine and stuff, yeah, Dennis, they're a very good side and surprised in a very positive way. And good for football in this country, for people to see that, and also good for CONCACAF, and it's fantastic.
Are you ready for your email question, gentlemen?
Absolutely.
All right. Okay, here we go. Our email question for tonight, it hails from Mark from St. Louis. Is it St. Louis or St. Louis? How do you guys say it? St. Louis. We'll go St. Louis. St. Louis. There we go. Dear John and Shep, I've enjoyed listening to you kick around your ideas. What's it like playing so many games in such a short amount of time? How do you prepare both physically and mentally for a tournament like this?
Well, I'll take the first crack, but as a goalkeeper, you know, I just had to do the hard-working goal. I didn't have to run, so I'd go out after a game, drink, dance, stay out all night. You know, John Harks is a guy, you got to run 6-7 miles in a game, so maybe you're better off answering.
John, before you start,
I'll tell you what, though, legendary. Only legends can say things like that.
Could you see Shep in the beep test? Imagine Shep in the beep. I ain't doing this beep test. Forget that beep test. Yeah, I don't think Shep would.
I could see him doing that, Dennis. Settle down. Make sure you get more goldfish in here. The thing is, yeah, to answer your question, I think that it's a very difficult situation. And for some players, they handle themselves a bit better than others. And that comes down to being professional. It's really important that, and especially a coach will say this, and so will the physios and the trainers, there's a lot of scientific situations going on now, like the actual drinks that you need to take that are going to help you recover. You know, there's a lot that goes into it. But really, at the end of the day, look, you got to get your rest. You got to have a good balance in between. You work hard on the pitch, and then you got to be able to rest off the pitch and mentally make sure that you're ready and prepared to step on and be fresh. I think when it comes down to situations like that, the coach has got to do a good job of taking you away from all the tournament itself, like the pressure, the media. Don't read the paper. Just relax. Get away, whether get in the pool, you know, in terms of recovery, things like that. But you got to have that balance away from soccer so you can come back fresh again, Shep, and then play well for the next match.
He's talking as a coach now because as a player, he was at the same nightclub.
Now, John, is it true, I've heard that water is really important, or hydration. Is it true that you guys could drink up to 3 or 4 litres of water a day, or 5, or some ridiculous amount?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, and sometimes, Dennis, I mean, really what you're talking about is you want to be prepared. It starts the night before a match, really, is drinking a lot of fluids, getting in your system, eating the right meals, pre-match meals. We always talk about that, get the carbs and the protein in you. Yeah. Post-game, it starts right away. You've got to replace those fluids. You're getting the, you know, the sports drinks in you, and then you're getting the water in you. And of course, you've got to drink. You've got to hydrate as much as possible. But it is important after a match to get something to eat within the hour, they say. I mean, just to answer your question more detailed and specifically, hope that helps you out, you know, in terms of getting that answer. I mean, because Shep never did any of that anyway.
He's just thinking water.
Shep was just like,
I'm thinking I also got
well, you're coming from the days of like you and Beckenbauer say, where's the Miller High Life? I mean, come on, son. I mean, that's a different era.
We had liquid refreshment as well, John.
All right. Well,
I've seen your fridge is stocked, by the way.
Thank you, gentlemen. If you would like to get in touch with us anywhere in the world, wherever you are, the furthest corner, we want to hear from you, okay? Email us at mail@awesomeballs.com. That's mail@awesomeballs.com. And for all the info, the latest news, anything you want to know about the tournament, www.concacaf.com or www.goldcup.org. Gentlemen, I'd like to thank you one more time. It was fantastic. I really do love working with you guys. Very, very enjoyable.
He's scaring me.
He's scaring me too.
Wait a minute, I don't know what I've got myself into. Please help me. Please help me. No. All right. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. Of course, it is the last round robin matches for Group B. It's the USA versus El Salvador and also Guatemala versus Trinidad and Tobago. We'll see you then.
The reproduction, distribution, publication, modification, public display, public performance, or transmission of this broadcast in any manner, in whole or in part, without the express written consent of CONCACAF, is strictly prohibited.